Nice.
Yeah. Cool. So I guess we'll call to order. We want to and we've got Tom and Sarah, and I'm Alex. We've got Sharon and Cameron, and Andrew. We'll be back in a moment. And we have some guests with us, but we'll move on to public comment. There's Andrew. If you wish to address the board under public comment, please prepare for the time limit of 3 minutes per speaker. We expect comments to be civil, disrespectful, or disruptive behavior will not be tolerated. The board is not authorized under the Colorado Open Meetings Law to discuss, comment, or take action at this meeting on any issue raised by public comment that is not part of tonight's agenda. Do we have any public comment tonight?
Hi, Environmental Stewardship Board. So I'm Pam Chadbourne. I live about a block from here. I've been going to board, commission, and council meetings for a few years now. Most people don't have the advantage of that perspective. And the learning curve is kind of long. So I wanted to share a few comments about that. I think our city has a fundamental management failure in that when you come here, you're not onboarded and you don't get an introduction to here's how the work is divided among staff and council and boards and commissions. So you guys are advisors to the policy body, which is city council, and then staff does the work, implements the work. I think there should be an education session on the budget, which is organized on the major city tasks over time, the staff assignments, and then what board and commissions are going to do over a period of time that would inform and integrate the work of staff and boards and commissions. But that has never happened here in the time I've been watching, unfortunately. So I'm going to give you an example. When I heard a comment about get people out of cars, that's not ESB's job. We have a transportation mobility board, and they look at the basic modes of transit, which are powered vehicles, bicycles, pedestrians, public transit, and I think another government vehicle kind of thing. So it's important that you guys understand your piece of the pie and what you can get your work around and what is less effective. And doing that bottom up is almost impossible, but that's what the city has stuck you with. So I'm just going to mention in the action plan, please don't throw out anything wholeheartedly, but focus on the things that I think the zoning code and the building code are places where if 40% of environmental climate impact is from buildings, let's get some environmental requirements in our building code and zoning code. And in the budget is important, and then public works. And I wanted to mention, so we have a separate fund for sewers and a separate fund for storm drainage. And both of those are huge, have huge implications for water quality and improving that, and for habitat and storm drainage. We have tributaries to the South Platte geologically. And so if we capitalize on those topographical assets, you guys can have a big impact on the future city. So I just wanted to mention in the action plan, there's a lot of things in there and some people don't like that, but try to look at what other boards and commissions are doing and then what ESB has the biggest return on providing to the city. Thanks.
All right, so our first item is we have some guests here. So you might as well introduce yourselves, and if you want, chairs for you to present. Does that work?
Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Diana Camanel-Tretton. I'm the manager of Grounds, Open Space and Natural Resources for the city. I've been with the city for 10 months, almost a year. And it's definitely been a challenge. It's a new position for me. I came from the Department of Energy. So it's but my background is sustainability. So I'm a geologist and my background is environmental sustainability. So we're doing the best we can. I like what you said. Thank you. We are, Mary is our city forester, and we are trying really hard to update our codes and update things to create a more welcoming environment. So, thanks.
And I'm Mary Brand Dancer. I'm the city forester for Littleton. I started here in 2022, and then I left and took a job with the State Forest Service for about a year break, and came back at the beginning or the very end of 25. So happy to be back. Yeah, funny little jaunt in the career here, but left, of course, on good terms, and really grateful to be back. Let me share my screen. I don't think I've met any of y'all, but I did for the first environmental stewardship cohort, met with that board some, so was involved to an extent in the action plan as it is now. So I've given some just general forestry updates, but also including kind of where we're currently at. Okay.
And where we want to go.
Yes, and how you can help us. What is this? It wants to share my camera. Okay. I'm trying to make it where I'm sharing in presentation view. Oh shoot, I need to download it because it's not in. I'm sorry, 1 second. I've got it on SharePoint. Have you heard how much tech training they give you in forestry school?
None.
Hard none. Just a bunch of introverts out in the woods. Okay, you're doing great. Thank you. Okay. Second PowerPoint go of the day, so you thought I would really have it down.
That's perfect.
Thank you. Okay. We've already done that. So for an agenda, I'll do my best to keep it fairly brief to allow time for questions and comments and kind of discussion over what y'all are wanting to do and how we can align. But I'll go over a little bit of forestry's timeline in the city of Littleton, covering a bit of the current conditions and programs that we have in place, and then go into where forestry section 4 of the Environmental Stewardship Action Board Plan is, and showing kind of what we've completed, what we have tried and had struggles with, and then what is still a good and realistic goal for us. And then trees and water, because I think that's a pretty hot topic subject right now. So just a little bit of science and education behind that. Upcoming code amendments that we're planning to be presenting soon, and kind of updates on where we're going with that, and asking for feedback from you all in that, and then hopefully having support as we're moving forward. It'll look like fall, I think, by the time we're getting that in front of council, hopefully. And then public outreach that we've been doing, just so you all are aware of it, and where there's some of that overlap, and then of course ways that we can work together and be supported. So this is kind of dense, but yeah, just for forestry overview in the city, I was the first city forester in 2022. So there had always been a grounds department, or had been a grounds department for a long time, that would cover and kind of passively react to things in arboriculture. A lot of that came from responses of trees down and limbs, not a lot of funding or resources to be able to do any type of proactive management or planning. I think they did, honestly, a really amazing job for not having staff in that and folks formally trained in it, and it kind of just falling to like whomever can pick it up. So that being said, we started with the risk assessment and urban tree canopy, or inventory risk assessment and urban tree canopy assessment. And so a lot of those are mentioned in the y'all's action plan. But really high overview in short, we had a ton of standing dead trees, a ton of trees that needed to be removed within the first year or two, a lack of tree diversity, and then we saw a decline in the canopy. So I'll show that number for it in the last 10 years. And so that was kind of the motivation for creating our forestry management plan, and you can't manage what you don't know type of thing. So then switching into 2023, we created the forestry management plan, and it was approved by council. That's on the website if you guys haven't seen it and want to. It's quite approachable and friendly, and that I wrote it, so like not a professional management planner. Like there's like a lot of pictures. It's very nice. But we set goals for it, and that's kind of where we started on being able to like have that like guiding document that we can refer to. I'll just go ahead and address the hot topic button item from council, and that is that it was approved that our long-term goals for like 50-year canopy goals would be 50%. We will come to that more, but I just want to address that we are aware that that is something that there's like a lot of questions and pushback for, and it is indeed an audacious goal, but we'll certainly cover that. We confirmed EAB just to like really send me into a stress spiral the day of the council presentation for the forestry management plan, so we couldn't like share it with anyone yet, which of course Emerald Ash Borer EAB is Asher, 14% of our urban canopy. So though we referenced it in the management plan, we weren't expecting to discover it quite so quickly. So it was very in overdrive of we've got to be treating these trees. We need to be removing proactively ones that are like bad candidates for treatment and be replacing those because this is happening faster than we projected. And then we created the tree manual, which was stored in-house, and that was kind of a best management practice. And ultimately what we're going to be doing is converting that into a best management practice recommendation, and then have separate code language. And right now it's kind of muddied. So we trialed it in-house, trying to kind of like vet through what worked and didn't work. And I think it just makes more sense to have code language separate, management that's public facing or contractor facing or whatever it might be, as a separate friendlier document. We started our tree ordinance review in 2023. I say that just to remind everyone that we're not taking this lightly. We have really pulled from a lot of resources and gotten a lot of feedback and opinions, and have changed the strategy a ton and changed some of the numbers a lot, of just trying to make sure that it's actually going to be easily implemented and helpful. Like it's the goal of us creating an ordinance update isn't for fun. Like that's not like a sweet process. It's more of like we're really trying to make sure we have a united front as a city to move forward. And then we did the habitat tree guiding document with partners at CU Boulder. So that's cool. It's also online. It's mainly just trying to kind of put into words where we're leaving standing dead tree and when we're leaving some stuff on the ground. The rewilding is the vernacular that was used by the previous board, and so that was kind of in some partnership with that. And then 24 forestry subsidy program presented to the Environmental Stewardship Board, got some support on the subsidy programming and what it needs. We've had a ton of positive feedback from that, but it's $500 per household per year is the max for it. So it can go towards emerald ash borer chemical treatment or hazardous tree removal. And we see a really high intake for the emerald ash borer treatment.
I am a recipient of that two
Yay!
times now.
Yay!
I just cleaned my tree on Friday. So.
Nice, love it. We'll be getting you a check shortly. Give us 2 weeks.
Submitted my receipt yet.
Okay, nice. And then we were really involved in the Highline Canal Natural Resource Management Plan. So if you guys have seen that, it's amazing. It's also public facing online. I would encourage you to take a look at it. And that really is our Littleton's largest swath that we maintain, and like a natural scape where we can like leave some standing trees, dead trees, and kind of have a little bit more of like a native feeling space. Presented to the Planning Commission for potential code updates, and then for 2026 we are planning to propose forestry updates in Title 8 and Title 10, which is ULUC, Also Title III, which is just our enforcement side of things. So that's a little more in the weeds, but we are making sure that what we're creating can be implemented and enforced. And then we are shifting from what was the tree manual, keeping that as it is, taking out any of the enforceable language and pulling that into a tree policies and regulations document. I have to do the benefits of urban trees because it feels like my job. But I went to a conference not too long ago, and someone started with the slide on the benefits of trees, and she was like, everyone in here are foresters and we all know it, and it's important to like have that as muscle memory. And I think that would be what will be my biggest push for you all, is like as a board to like understand that and be able to like advocate on behalf of it, because folks that aren't years deep in trees or care that much about it, I think often forget some of them. But benefits, that is. The biggest note I'll say for that is trees are not decoration, they are public infrastructure. So that is part of our city's infrastructure. It is a very cheap solution to climate change as we are going through all of the different options. It's a piece to the puzzle for sure. It's not the only focus, but it is a very tangible, very approachable one for a city to be prioritizing overall tree health. Of course, the caveat of benefits of trees is this is mature trees providing these. So planting a tree is important and you're planting it for the future and the next generation. But if we can't focus on the preservation of our current mature canopy, then we're kind of fighting an uphill battle, which is, spoiler, hopefully where the code is coming in to really kind of partner with that. So we know that they're filtering air, they provide cooling, cardiovascular rates decrease with trees. That comes one from cooler temperatures and also just like being calmer under trees, which is amazing. The biodiversity importance, reducing obesity rates in adults and children, and that comes from having a easier, more accessible route and spot to walk, managing stormwater, increasing property values, and then just general reducing stress. And that is just a few, but I will not belabor it because I'm only on slide 4. The urban tree canopy assessment, I mentioned this, the two biggest things I want to focus on here, or just acknowledge for you all, is in 2013, Littleton had a 25% canopy coverage. Trees grow, so normally you see an increase, even passively, you'll see an increase in canopy, but ours went down 5% in 10 years. So that's a direct causation of actively removing our canopy. Also, to take like a ton of ownership too, it's also a response of not probably planting aggressively enough and having forestry staff where there's funds and priorities and everything else with that. But even passively, that is a kind of staggering statistic. So it's tough because I think a lot of Littleton is built out at this point. And I think that's where we really come into like the importance of preservation versus just requiring new plantings, be it for encouraging it for homeowners or development or whatever it may be. And I think our strongest suit with that, from my perspective, has been with like the EAB subsidy program, because that is sending the message of, hey, we are willing to invest in the preservation of your tree. And a lot of times it's easy to get grant funding and it's easy to get people on board and Girl Scouts and, you know, all of this stuff for planting a tree. And it holds a ton of value, but we've got to kind of shift that paradigm of first, we need to preserve what we have and maintain it and do things like water it and take care of it, like the bare essentials for it. And then see the importance, receive the benefits of trees, and naturally folks are going to want to be planting more. One other note is that our highest layer of surface was impervious surfaces for that. So there is definitely causation. It went down a percentage, which is likely due to like grass vegetation covering it. It's all done aerially, spatially, so it's not like we lost impervious surfaces. We just like had vegetation growing over to cover it. So if we can increase pervious surfaces, that of course helps a ton with all of the other benefits, including keeping trees alive. Then the forestry management plan, which was 2023. So here's the 3 big points for that. Canopy increase that I mentioned is 50%. I wrote this nice little quote in here that is, we do not rise to the level of our goals, but we fall to the level of our systems. And I think that is what matters more to me than anything else if we're going to talk about shifting the number of 50%. down to whatever folks that are against this are feeling passionate about. I think what matters more than anything else is that we are creating code that is enforceable and very clear and understandable of saying we want to protect our trees and we want to encourage folks and like prioritize folks to be planting new, whoever it is. Like this isn't like trees against development by any means. And I think a lot of times that's where folks' brains go. But like we're talking about cities and our partners and our neighbors and South Suburban and homeowners and, you know, everything else. Like on all levels, we want to be incentivizing and encouraging the preservation of trees and the planting of new trees. So 50% is an audacious goal. New York City just did it, so I'm like, I don't know, like there's we're pulling the statistics currently with a contractor, a third party person to be comparing like cities of sizes and climate and everything else. It's a high goal for our climate, but our naturally without like encouraging this or having any code enforcement, our highest densest canopy neighborhoods in Littleton are 40%. So it's not unrealistic. It
We know it's doable.
yeah.
It's just, is there the mindset?
I've planted 4 trees on my property, so I just, and big trees too, not little trees, big trees. So I don't know, I'm making up for some folks.
Yeah. And we covered this in the forestry management plan and it came from the UTC or the urban tree canopy assessment, but Littleton is not specific to this, Colorado is not specific to this, but like maps of canopy density are also maps of wealth, just across the board. So we're aware of that, and we're aware that our wealthy or our more affluent neighborhoods have denser canopy. And it's, like I said, that's just kind of sadly a universal trend that we have. So we're trying to figure out, like from a tree equity standpoint, what are we needing to do if our low canopy neighborhoods are 13% and our wealthier neighborhoods are 30%, like that gap is too big for us to be ignoring. So yeah, 50% is a big goal, and I would argue it's a goal. But
So that goal is
feedback.
it's not entirely on the shoulders of the city, like you are counting residents and.
Yes.
Yeah, and South Suburban.
There can't possibly be enough public land to get 50%
Right.
tree coverage.
No,
Right.
no, it's gotta be South Suburban, it's gotta be residents, it's gotta be development.
The majority of our land in Littleton is private property, is private residence. So, or I guess I shouldn't say private, residential. So if we're able to kind of like harness that power and find what can the city do that is supporting. And a lot of that comes with people have different relationships with trees for different reasons and different connections. And some people view a tree as a potential liability. You know, it's going to get larger and it's going to cost my water bill a ton, or it's going to potentially get sick and it's going to be an expensive removal. So I think it's important to not stonewall that, but to be like, oh, okay, that's an issue. What can we do? I know the benefits outweigh the potential risks. So what can we, the city, do to steward something for that, to treat it where, you know, we're not trying to force a tree down someone's throat. Like we want folks to want a tree so that we can.
Like the equity program, like, and you know, the subsidy program and all of that, that's all helpful. You know, it's doing our best, and we are trying to increase how we work that. It's unfortunately, there's some tax implications for people if they get more than $500. So there's all these different issues that you have to think about on how best to help people. So we are taking all of that into account.
And quantifiable species diversity increase, this will be in the code update, and it's something that we put in our tree manual that we've been practicing internally, and it's been very easy for contractors and us to meet, but it's 5, 10, 20 rule, 5% of the same genus, or sorry, species, 10% of the same genus is like the max, and 30% of the same family, which is very easy. So for example, ash trees are Fraxinus americana. Any Fraxinus is being attacked by the emerald ash borer. So if we can get that number down to 10%, that'll make a huge difference when the next pest comes through, when the next canker comes through, when the next Dutch elm disease comes through. Like it's not, EB isn't new in urban forestry trends. The fact that we haven't learned our lesson in trying to plant more diversely is more of it. But yeah, I mean, we're in Colorado. It's a high desert. It's incredibly dry. It's really hard to be a tree here, much less an urban tree here. So that is where it comes, is there's those tried and true species that people are like, ash work, ash grow, let's plant more ash. So now we're kind of reaping some of the consequence of that financially. And proactive management, that goes without saying. We don't want to be reactive. Trees and water. Okay, a 2021 study from CSU did this like just south of Fort Collins, that mature trees help conserve water. So I think that folks often have a big resistance for this, but newly planted trees are babies and they're takers, and you need to be babying them and giving them extra stuff like you would a human, and hopefully you're raising a good human and then they'll grow up to be better and make the world better. Same for trees. So yes, the little trees are taking. We're aware of that, not trying to like brush it under the rug, but we're trying to create mature canopy whose benefits are tenfold. So there is supplemental watering. I would still encourage like now supplemental watering in mature trees. Like if you have them, I'm doing that at my yard, and just like it doesn't need a ton in the grand scheme of things. And my argument would be like, if you look at this study, which you can find, let's see, what is it called? Trees have unexpected impacts on water use in northern Colorado. I can send the link to Laura as well. She can send it out to you guys if you want. But if you're looking at that and studies that are actually quantifying the amount of water that trees uptake, it's trying to like not be so frank, but it's like such a casual meeting. It's hard not to be. Trees are a drop in the bucket of water usage when we are looking at our other facilities and programming right now. So if we're going to be fighting water conservation, it doesn't need to be at the expense of trees. Just not even because I'm a tree person, just from like how can we save water? It's not going to be this level of intentional irrigation on our canopy. Furthermore, the like transpiration rates is basically why mature canopies save water. So trees equals shade, shade equals cooling. They create these microclimates where the evaporation will come, the trees will capture it, and you've got this little like transpiration bubble. So the study will shows that outdoor vegetated spaces have lower irrigation costs in a residential setting is where it's kind of focused on. So it's really interesting. I'll send it to you guys just because it's helpful to know, but I think that is a message that I would ask that we're just being very clear on sharing with, you know, as you're doing community outreach, as you're interacting with city officials, as you're interacting with council, as you're like talking with folks in Littleton. If someone is concerned about water, they're a good person that is caring and paying attention to the needs that we have. So I would just encourage the actual quantity amount, like you could forgo flushing a toilet twice a week or water a new tree. Like when we're comparing the two, I think there's just like a lot of benefit in being able to kind of wrap your head around quantifying that. That's my soapbox, I'll let it go, unless you guys have questions on trees and water. Should have set a timer on that slide. Okay, so this is the study in the green and with the check mark. Just found out green's the most common colorblind color.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm. So I added the check marks there, DIY, can you tell?
It looks great.
Thank you. These are all things that we have completed. Unhighlighted ones are ones that we haven't completed, so I'll hit on rewilding. In short, I think it's great. I think rewilding is not like an industry standard term, so I would encourage if it's going to stay in, though, we would shift on something that feels a little more specific. So like for trees, it would be like habitat trees or retaining habitat or prioritizing habitat or decayed materials, something like that. And if that's something that wants to be discussed, happy to do that more later and show some examples from what other like municipalities have done with that. The biggest pushback I will say is we in Public Works are implementing this and we'll get called about a dandelion that's an inch off of the ground. Like, you know, so I think that it's a hard sell to make when you're like getting berated on SeeClickFix or something like that to be like, okay, I'm not going to promote rewilding for my sanity, even though I don't necessarily agree with it. So I think before it becomes an action item that we're calling out and really prioritizing in that broad stroke, I would encourage it to be a really specific, like we retain X% of downed wood when we're in like a naturalized space. Of course, we don't want to keep downed wood in medians or something that would be bringing in critters because the whole point is habitat.
But the whole idea is to bring in the critters because that's where they winter. If you leave your downed material, you get your pollinators, you get all of the really important things. You get your worms, you get everything that is going to winter there. And that will not happen if you are pristine.
So the complaints you'll get, are they mostly in public spaces? Are they like by the river? Cause it's
Everywhere.
just anywhere.
You would be surprised with the amount of everywhere, I think being the answer, but it's a lot of where it's like interacting with hardscape. So if it's near a sidewalk, then it'll become a tripping hazard, claimed as a tripping hazard, or if it's,
Or a median.
yeah,
It's, there's a
which
lot
that's just aesthetic, but nonetheless.
Yeah. Or sometimes.
A bunch of animals running across the street.
Right, yeah, we wouldn't like create habitat
Yeah.
corridors in the
wouldn't-
median.
Yeah, we wouldn't create habitat in a median, but I mean, we
Right.
have, we landscape our medians, but we are moving to all xeric landscaping on the medians. Redesigning Mineral Avenue right now, all those medians, and they will be similar to the ones on Littleton.
Littleton's great.
They'll be similar to that. That was done in conjunction with the Botanic Garden.
Right.
Low water use, really beautifully done. So we are telling the design, it's going out for an RFP, and we did tell them to go and take a look at Littleton because that's the idea that we are looking at. So.
And as like a sidebar, we get a lot of complaints about Littleton
We
medians
do.
of it being weeds, like
Yeah.
folks not knowing.
People
So
are
I
like,
think,
it's milkweed.
I
Well,
don't
that's
know.
for the monarchs.
yeah, well, I think it more than anything, like I know that sounds like cynical, but I think more than anything, it's like, I feel like a motivational speaker, but it is like it's an opportunity for us to increase
Educate.
education. Like,
Yeah.
if you're seeing milkweed and not immediately thinking monarchs, then like, let's get to
You need to
teaching our
readjust your brain,
kids.
that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
I get so excited every time I see it in city spaces. It's like,
Oh,
yay.
and I will tell you that we are trying really hard to increase that whole.
I will say there's probably a lot of people that are excited about it, and you
There's-
probably don't get someone that takes time out of their day to say, you know what I love is the way the city's doing this median. You know what I mean? So you probably just get the,
We
I'm sure there are lots of people that
fix
in this room
just
that appreciate it.
I'm curious if like, cause I fully my work have run into like creating what used to be here doesn't mean that it's like gonna be nice for people sometimes or like good to look at sometimes and is there like a benefit? I know a lot of the south, like the trails and stuff have like placards and boards and do you see a difference when there's educational information there that says why something's there?
There are certain locations where it really does make a difference and that you can do that.
Not
It's
that
not
you
like
can
we
put
can't
a
do something
board
like that on a
in the-
median because
yeah.
it could be blocking traffic, it's not like sight visions, So, yeah, it does. It makes a huge difference once you educate people.
Yeah, I'm just
And-
thinking, like, especially trails even closer to, cause like you get down to the South Platte and it's like really sort of native and naturalized, and then you get closer in and it's a lot more landscaped, and I feel like if we started to transition that, you'd probably get calls, but if we could put like a board, it might help, I don't know. This is on purpose.
Yeah. Honestly, that could be it, just this is done on purpose. Really
Yeah.
innocent.
Well,
I will
but
say the
we did-
habitat.
Yeah.
The habitat trees we put signs on, and if anything, we just get calls with people being like, will you explain what a habitat tree is? Like, it's been that was a very like encouraging
Yeah.
response. So I
It's-
think that's
yeah.
smart and we should do more of it.
And we are working more on signs. There are just certain locations where that's not gonna happen.
Right.
So
Like you said.
I think the more locations you can do that, it'll make people understand that we are very intentional.
Right.
I mean, it's, my
We did this on purpose.
Right.
Like, I put that up everywhere. We did this on purpose.
Yes,
Here's the number.
It's an amazing thing that people
Laura's
just
number.
don't really.
Yeah.
Laura's number. That
Send them all to me.
don't understand.
Exactly.
And, people want their pretty flowers.
Yeah. There's native pretty flowers.
There are beautiful native pretty flowers.
Flowers.
I mean, when you have certain plants, then you have pretty butterflies and pretty moths and beautiful bees and all these other wonderful things. So yeah, it is. A lot of it is education.
So hitting on the long-term other here on the far right, expanding Kensington Park. It's in the process, I would say.
Yeah, it's in the process. It's.
Oh, but the fence is removed for the cottonwood. I made sure we
Yeah.
got a little moment to praise that if you guys haven't seen it.
Oh, you took the fence, I haven't been down there.
Go hug it. You can walk right up to
Walk right
it.
up to it, give it a little pat on
My
its
kids,
back.
when they were little, we could sit under that tree, and then they got older, and they're like, why can't we go over there? And I'm like, well, the tree's broken. They're kind of protected.
Yeah.
It's really
Now,
nice.
The fence is gone and the tree's gorgeous.
I love that.
The fence came down a couple months ago.
I love it. Yeah, I haven't been down there.
And we are working on, towards getting some more plantings in over there. But as far as the lake goes, the lake is too big for the amount of water that we have. So the plan is to shrink up the lake and then create more of a wetlands area around it and pollinator friendly.
Is that why you put the willows on the east side?
I did not put the willows on the east side, so
I
no.
was surprised when I saw those go in. I really was. It was like, okay.
No, I can't say why anyone did anything
I'm
before.
pretty sure I think that was newer, or has that been a while?
In the last like 2 years, year.
Oh, okay, maybe not then. I was thinking that was a project Sarah was
Way
working.
before Diana, while Mary was gone.
Yeah, was it before? Yeah.
Well, you stepped
It's
away.
an appropriate spot for, on my head.
It's not that far.
Isn't
You
it?
can't see the lake when you walk over there anymore.
That is South Suburban maintained, which I guess comes down to bottom right relationship.
Yeah.
We're working on it, and I think it's gotten a ton better since the initial, when this was created, we were struggling on having alignment on, what are y'all doing? Will you report back? Here's what we're doing. We want to make sure we're aligned, like.
They came to ESB, I think, maybe 2 months ago, and they wanna come back in December.
It's
They're gonna now do updates and they wanna create maybe an analogous body for them.
Okay.
Like of this, so
The team there now is great.
I think there's been a lot of changes and
Yeah.
They get a new executive director.
They got a new, there's so many people are
And a new
new and in new positions
Okay.
where they seem to fit better. So it's been a really good, it's been a very positive relationship.
Yeah.
We are now meeting with them quarterly, which the grounds team had never met with them before. So.
It's a lot, it's a lot better.
So that was one of the
I would
first
take
things
that
when
one
I
off on the
started, I was
run.
like, we've got to meet quarterly. They're, handling
done deal.
the majority of our parks, we need to.
There
So-
is, we're working, or the city is working on doing an updated agreement with them. So that would be maybe where like it could stay on here. So that's why I didn't highlight it, is once that IG is complete, that will be a little bit more bow on top, but interpersonally, it's going great.
And they've been really responsive to requests and to questions, and they've been very good.
Okay, any questions on these?
This is sort of a question to rewind. So what was your recommendation again? I lost track. Is you can't do it because it's not defined well enough, or?
I think being defined, having it a bit more specifically defined would be really helpful for us. And I think a lot of that comes to the intentionality of, so if we're talking about habitat trees, of saying, hey, we're going to leave X amount, we're going to attempt, it's not always a good space for it or whatever it might be. But we're going to attempt to leave this amount of standing habitat trees for bird habitat in our like naturalized areas or in our appropriate areas. So being able to kind of put a little bit more of a quantification on it would be helpful. And then I think one, that, and then two, so we have a response. So if folks, like if this gets pushed and approved and this is a city goal that has full support, not just ground support, then we're able to say, if calls come in about certain weeds that are being left intentional and they're not actually weeds or they're not invasive or whatever it might be, we can point to something that's saying, we want to have this amount of space. And even kind of back to my goal comment, like even if we have something that is quantifiable that we're not reaching, we at least are having that like internally and for South Suburban
You
to
need
strive.
to stretch.
And I think it's helpful, like, I think that would be really beneficial to give to South Suburban of like, we would like this much of our like maintained space to have some level of like pollinator benefit or, something that we can quantify.
I'm sure you're
Go for it.
familiar with the 30 by 2030.
Yeah.
And so why wasn't that just keep 30% unmanaged? Why can't that be a goal?
That can be a goal.
So you don't have to drive into the specifics as you
Yes.
were mentioning. We can
Yes.
pull it out.
Yeah,
But we
I
will
think-
get the questions and we will get the continual, why are there weeds covering, this sign? Why are there, I mean, those are the things that will always happen, no matter what you call it or what you.
Maybe we need to hire a call center to take those calls.
I would love that.
Everyone else in the world.
Yeah, it's far, far away from my
Far
desk.
away. Yeah, I mean,
I think that's a great idea, but that's even more, what it had was basically just like, leave certain areas alone, rewild them, and that was too broad for us to be able to like have grounds to stay
I
in.
also say no one in this room, including myself, actually maybe just our one person here for public comment was here when this original plan was written. We do still have one board member that is, but she's a teacher. This is one meeting of the entire year she was gonna miss, so we're still gonna be doing other updates to the plan like in future meetings too, but there's no one really that can speak to, at least in this room that I know of, about
What that intent was.
what the intent of rewilding.
Yes.
So just to provide that context for everyone. We're kind of interpreting as best we can.
yeah, it's an older term. It's kind of it's a term that's been around for quite a while.
Isn't there a book? There was a book called Rewilding, right? That came out probably
Yeah.
early 2000s.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been around for a long time and people take that word and run with it in different directions. So I think that's part of what the problem is. So I think a better educational aspect of what we consider rewilding for us would be really helpful.
Are there other goals that need to be more specific on the plan?
I would say not currently in it. I think that there could be a potential for new goals, but
What about for the urban tree canopy assessment goals?
434.
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's a big one. That's a lot of moving parts.
It's like 20 different things in there.
That could
Yeah.
be nice to be separated
So
some.
break it out a little.
So the tree ambassadors is brought up in that, and that is, if you're not familiar with it, is fairly newer in forestry, and I think it's really amazing and beneficial, but I was talking with Laura about this. I don't know if it's super feasible as far as like a goal for us right now to be able to execute just from a
Staffing level,
administrative
yeah.
level. But that would be targeting someone that is a resident in a low canopy neighborhood. So like Northeast Littleton, like near Powers Park, that's some of our lowest canopy area in Littleton. If we could find someone that lives there, and then I train them and work with them one-on-one, and it's kind of like they get some of that, they have me to come back to, but they work something like 10 hours a week, like very little, can have a full-time job just as like, I care about trees, I care about my neighbors, I know this neighborhood well, I've lived here a long time. And then the resistance that comes from like government vehicles being on your property is completely eliminated because you're talking with your neighbor, and then they can come back and say, here's resources that we're wanting. So it's like middleman advocate of being able to get stuff done. It's incredibly highly successful, like works really
In other
well in
places.
programs that have done it. Would love to do it, but I think it's
Not yet.
the kickoff is kind of hard. So if it's something that is a high priority, you got a gal on board, but we need to make sure we've got staff resources prepared for that type of like community outreach interconnection. So that is part of the urban tree canopy goals on here. That was part of the forestry management plan. So I think there's probably just a little bit of confusion in that of bringing it up, as it would be a nice option to have. But I think that goal is kind of just a lot of words, if I'm just being super frank. Like, I don't think it's really helpful on.
We can break it apart and figure it out.
Yeah.
Cause you had that first or second slide, right, that had the timeline on it and places that you've already
Yes.
established some of those steps, those kind of benchmarks of what it would take to get that done. So if we used that information when we're going back through, like we talked about, looking at this again, right? We could maybe break that out into some benchmarks that make more sense.
Yeah, and I would be happy to kind of like write that down in a list setting, like where you guys can go through of like, this is what we are doing, or like, here's ideas that we needed to shift this way to be helpful, you know, any of that you're open to hearing, like, happily.
Yeah,
People
achievable.
can draft something and Mary could review it and provide
As
recommendations.
long as we have bite-sized pieces.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, I mean,
First,
realistically, our staffing is not really enough to do more than bite-sized pieces right now.
Okay, the tree policies and regulations document is in the process. We are contracting it out with a third-party consultant. They're going to do the redlining. And a big reason that we're doing this is because, like I said on the first slide, we've been working on this since 23. We have involved so many people and so many differing perspectives and ideas on it. So they're just going to come in and consolidate it and provide some things that are kind of beyond staff scopes to be able to do. A request we got from council was comparing liked cities or liked sizes, municipalities, like what is this neighbor doing? What is another city of our size doing? What is another municipality in our climate doing? Which I think is great, and it is a decent amount of work. So we're able to contract that out without any bias and having someone come through. Again, the goal is to utilize the benefits of trees, there's no other alternative motive. So we're really hoping to get like a lot of public comment and feedback. Once we've got that done, I'll surely be sending it to you all, and it'll go to Planning Commission and any of probably Transportation, any of the other boards that want that, as well as being open to the public for it. But really trying to hear of, you know, how can we work collaboratively with this. So the public comment period will probably be the next you guys hear of that. We're hoping for it to be soon, like a few months. I'm not gonna say a timeline because it's being recorded just in case. So hopefully a few months. And then we'll be doing some presentations on that. So if you guys are interested, happy to do that. We'll go to Planning Commission and they'll do the first vote, and then we'll go to council for the second. But hopefully we'll have that code adopted in Q4 of this year. I would love it. So hoping the benefits. Ways to support. So I think the biggest thing, which I kind of hit on like throughout talking to this, but providing your comments on that, stuff that you disagree with, stuff that's flagged, stuff that you just don't understand why we would change this or why this would be enforceable code, or, you know, whatever it might be. Like, we wanted, code language is really dense and sometimes very confusing. So the intention, and right now we've got forestry code spread in 3 different spots, in ULUC, in LEDs, and in Title 8. And as someone that spends a ton of time in our code, it's still confusing for me on like certain areas where there are contradictions or things that don't quite line up, or, you know, whatever it might be. So the intent is to have a very like transparent spot to hold this. It makes a lot of sense, and it aligns with our goals of what we're trying to reach as a city. So yeah, providing your comments on that and letting me know stuff that is like, I don't know if I agree with that, and I don't know why we would do that, or I feel like as a resident here, that would be obtrusive to me, or whatever it might be, is incredibly beneficial. So we can respond to those. It's been we've definitely adapted a lot already with that. And then educating.
Also, if you like something.
Yeah, if you like something too, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, if you like something, I'll give you my personal line. Just call and tell me anytime.
We'll just call you about the milkweed and tell you.
Yeah, like, that's so pretty.
We love that milkweed.
I saw
Oh my
5
gosh, I
monarchs
see.
this
Yeah.
week. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, and stuff that feels like, not even that you like, but stuff that feels like, hey, this is a huge priority for ESP. Like, we really want to stand behind this. There's certain things that I'll hold loosely, and there's other personally in code updates, and there's other things I won't. And so I'm sure you guys will have that as well. Of, I would be really upset if I didn't see this go through, and that gives us a good indicator of where we need to prioritize fighting a little harder. And then education, I think, is just really would be, from my side, would be a really very helpful role for you all to be playing. There's, for whatever reason it might be, there is a certain, you know, I don't benefit off of lying to citizens about tree health, but there's some level of distrust that comes oftentimes. And I don't know if that's even worth fighting. You know, I think it's like staying up and being consistent and saying, hey, we're sending the same message consistently. We're trying to be honest. We're trying to educate, so that when you have a contractor come, so you have a sleazy contractor that comes, you're able to say, no, I know that that's not true. I know you're just trying to sell or overspray chemical or whatever it might be. So I think educating beyond just coming out of Public Works Department is highly, highly productive for us to be able to accomplish like-minded
Do
goals.
you have any like flyers or other things? We have people tabling at different meet greet needs from this board.
Yeah,
So I'm happy to like bring those to
that would be
the
nice. Yeah.
next 3 that we have people signed up for.
Yeah.
This board, and I'll be there too.
Yeah, that would be great. I'll send some to you. And I want to do a trees and water one before the next, kind of soon, the next meet greet meet. So thank you. Yeah, I think it comes a long way for people, and it helps me too on like some stuff people, I assume everyone knows what EAB is now, and that's still not the case, you know, so like it's helpful feedback of hearing someone that's not up to their ears in tree talk to hear it.
If it makes you feel better, I also got 2 of my neighbors on the street to also treat their trees.
I love it.
And we've treated them now for, this will be our 3rd treatment, 2nd reimbursed treatment in the city. So we treated them before the city paid.
I remember going to your yard, by the way.
Oh, that's right. Oh my
I was in
gosh, I totally forgot about that.
Very cute. You've
Yeah,
got, like,
she's
the-
gotten bigger too.
It's
I love my
that
tree.
model is very like the tree ambassador, and I've seen that not only in yours, but we map all of the applications so we can see little like clusters of there's
They talk.
usually someone, and it's like, oh, there's someone that's passionate in this neighborhood, and now we have 5 applications around it. So it really does. It works more for you to be like, hey, it works. All you have to do is apply. There's
Well,
there's
and
not a
and
catch.
when you live
I
there,
put it
it's
out on our group chat. The
yeah,
application's open, everybody get your stuff in, you know.
you don't want somebody else getting a diseased tree and then having it coming and contaminating yours. You know, I mean, it's really helpful to.
Well, all I had to say was, what do you think your front yard would feel like if you didn't have that tree in your window?
Mhm.
Because that's a west facing window. Do you know how hot, you don't have air conditioning. What's your house gonna feel
You'll
like?
have to buy it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, I'm gonna do it.
Have you done any outreach for that stuff with like HOAs and stuff? Like the HOA that I'm in, we spend a absolute fortune on arborists and stuff to manage the trees and the green spaces, and there's some sort of like maybe small discount that homeowners get.
Yes.
Like I have honey locust, a blue spruce, a couple of blue spruces, a ponderosa pine, had to cut down a blue spruce last year. But I had heard nothing of this program, and it would have been great to
Yes.
have $500 to help remove the unfortunately dead blue spruce or to treat it beforehand if I had known.
Yeah.
We had Ipsen beetles take out 2 very
There's
old.
I guess there's just a lot, and I feel like maybe leveraging HOAs or existing infrastructures that are already spending that money and have to be aware of it might be a good way to kind of jumpstart more of those clusters. Because my neighbors have an ash
Yeah.
and they get it treated.
Yeah.
She actually works for the city. I don't know if she is even aware of this program.
That's it. It's been surprising to me because we've put it in stuff like Littleton reports and online and socials and everything, and
Like I follow the Instagram
yeah,
and I get
I'm kind of surprised by it.
links
But
and-
you're in the
Yeah.
majority of people being like, I'm unaware. of
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you'll never win the outreach game, no matter what.
I
But
know,
I'm
yeah.
wondering if cause the HOAs have to, like, we have a bunch of mature trees that I'm sure contribute to a lot of the canopy around Euclid.
Yeah.
That, you know, they spend a ton of money on every year. And so having even a little bit to help offset that, you know, I'm sure the HOA would be in favor of it.
Yeah.
And then
I agree.
helping to manage them on people's property as well.
I super agree, and we have tried futilely to do that. So basically, if it goes over $500, it gets into taxes. So that's where our problem is. What we are exploring doing is working with like a third-party nonprofit so that we could like go out to bid, give our allocated sum of funds to someone else to kind of handle as a mediator for that, and then they won't have a cap on what goes. So it could be more of a scale. So it doesn't make sense for an HOA, $500 is not enough to accomplish
No,
anything.
I just meant like mostly for like outreach, cause we do a
Oh,
yearly.
like for them to tell individual homeowners.
Oh, yeah, I get
Oh,
flyers
yes.
all the
Yeah,
time.
that's a great idea.
and Stuff
Yeah.
like that, and you know, I'm sure just a couple of
Yeah.
flyers stuck in mailboxes or whatever.
So if you have
It's it seems to be,
What's that?
If you had like a couple individual homeowners that were doing it with the HOA and they're figuring out the funds that way.
We've approved plenty of
Might have been like that.
HOA homes, but it
not
has
for
to
the
be with
HOA.
the specific resident.
Yeah.
Right,
I-
yeah.
So I think your idea, I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you were saying, but
I was
that
just
makes a lot
using
of
the
sense.
HOAs to
As
outreach, because they would, yeah, they have a lot of
Amazing
people
idea.
that care about the
Yeah.
trees, rather than, you know, obviously you can't give all that money to the HOA. And $500 for them is nothing, but there's a lot of trees that end up on personal property anyway.
Yeah, I think that's a really great idea. And it would probably be really beneficial for us just as far as like outreach to have an HOA contact list too, of being like, he's here.
We have looked at that,
So,
you know, we've looked at getting an HOA list.
I have one from 2022, but it needs to be updated.
It's not the easiest thing to get a hold of. I mean, it's just, I don't know why, but it's just not,
If I've been working with comms, so we can talk
okay, yeah.
the process.
But, you know, it's, I guess for me, I just always think, you know, we have, you know, so many city, you know, magazines, like online magazines and stuff that go out and it's in all of them. So it's kind of surprising to me that more HOAs have not seen that and spread that information. I live in Boulder and they do a similar kind of thing in Boulder. And one of the first things our HOA did was send out a message saying that they were gonna be treating all of the ash trees along the backside of our neighborhood. And if you have any damaged or diseased ash trees, contact the city because there are programs.
I will say I live in Denver and every HOA is different. And my HOA, and I'm a renter from an owner, they are like, we don't understand why there's trash contamination. Someone's like, no one sends new renters the code for the trash can. So like, they were like, would you be able to create that? Like they asked that of me, like to create like trash guidelines. I was like, and recycling guidelines. And I was like, okay, sure. But I'm like, you just never know the situation with those.
That's it. I mean, every single HOA is different.
They're all
Just trying to get,
I think
yeah.
in the HOA that I'm in, we've gotten like trees, saplings from the city
yeah.
to plant in the green space, so I'm absolutely floored that I have not heard of the subsidy.
well, it's still open, right?
Yeah, it
It's
is.
still open if you've got something to do.
It's also, we're only on year 3 of doing it. There's, you know,
Yeah.
I would
It's
say
new.
it's easy to point blame to saying your HOA didn't notify you, but there's plenty that we were quiet the first year trying to make sure we understood how to do, you know,
We
like,
really got the saplings from the subsidy program.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but it wasn't made aware. I just didn't know that I could just get funds to help remove
Yeah.
damaged trees or to treat.
Meanwhile, I'm emailing her in like January. Is the application open yet? She goes, I'll tell you when it's open. Because I knew I was due.
So yeah, the last few is, and this will come up a ton, I'll say it till the cows come home, preservation is greater than new plantings. So tree preservation is better for us, more beneficial for us, everything, and that is the heart behind the code updates. So open to a lot of feedback on code updates as long as we are intentionally showing that like preservation is kind of paramount. Planting is also important, but I don't want planting to steal the show unnecessarily. As you all know, trees are a cheap solution to the climate crisis. And then after you've given your comments and we've gone back and forth, if you can vocalize your support for code updates. If you want to talk later, I can talk code for hours and hours. So happy to show some of the disparages in our code if that interests you, and explain kind of a little bit of the motive behind some of the things we're wanting to change and not wanting to change. But that's a boring meeting for most folks, so we will not do that now. But yeah, there's some incongruencies and some lack of updates that it's time to button up. And then I'm gonna, include this, some of our partners that we're working with, just for if you guys know that there's overlap. These are people that we've done forestry stuff with. So if you know them, tell them thank you for their support that they've given forestry for a long time. And then also, yeah, we're stronger together as we are trying to reach alignment. So thank you guys. It's long. Do you have questions?
I have a question. Would you describe going to the perception or reality of increased density of housing and forest density, urban forest density?
And
Are they It seemed like they would be in conflict and so.
Right. It's a great question, and I think most folks have viewed it as in conflict because historically they have been. There is a ton of research and a ton of design and a ton of studies that show kind of how like the marriage of the two can be more beneficial. So for example, if you're swapping like a courtyard that's on the interior that we see so much, if you're swapping that and making a parking alley in the center, then your footprint and then trees on the perimeter or green space on the perimeter, it's just the footprint of that swap is you're able to use half the amount of concrete, you know, if there's like garages underneath or something like that, or half the amount of impervious surface. Sorry, not a builder. And then you're able to have that pervious surface and that green space and the trees on the exterior. So there's like very practical, tangible examples for that in development. And then from more of an equity standpoint is like, we can't really afford to not have trees in Colorado. You know, we historically didn't have trees, but we also historically didn't have this level of density. And so with things, I mean, y'all have been outside these last 2 days, like we're far from the fires and it's still, if you like work up a sweat, like you're coughing right now, like it is tough out there. And so like that level of pollutant and the flash floods and, you know, all of these other things, like we can't protect our infrastructure if we don't have pervious surfaces and vegetation that are able to absorb the amount of trees. So that would be kind of, yeah. So yeah, filtering things for sure. But even like, yeah, stormwater management side, like trees are capable of absorbing huge flows in moments that we don't have current like man-made infrastructure that can mimic it.
Beavers.
Yes, yeah.
They're so good for forests.
I love beavers. I'm telling you, I
Hey, you
get.
better be careful when you're
I know.
Beavers.
I love beavers.
Beavers are the answer.
And we have certain staff members that are not as fond of beavers, so I send them all the beaver stories,
Mhm.
you know, because beavers are truly amazing.
They are, and they're showing the difference in living forest and not living forest
Yeah.
after forest fires.
The short answer is you're right, Tom.
Sorry?
The short answer is you're right.
You're right on the conflict of trees and,
No, the density of the zoning code.
oh,
I want to,
yes, yes,
the zoning code is a problem.
yes.
ESB should look at it.
And I think the misconception that, and that is part of what these code updates will be, we're going really deep into Title 10. But part of the sad misconception is that trees and development are at odds. And quite frankly, I think it's just a lack of education and like innovative ways that we have evolved. So like our code currently as it stands, it is easier to, it incentivizes clear cutting and replanting monetarily versus tree preservation. So if you've got a large established tree, it saves money to cut that tree down and then do the in lieu planting fee. And there's not any type of, and mind you, I'm not pushing for enforceable years down the road, but there's not enforceable, yeah, but then 6 years, the trees need to be alive. So they can be alive for the planting and then you're done. So,
I know in some
and
states
that's
they
a lot of code, like
they have
that's
a
not.
stumpage fee if you clear for your property, you have to pay.
Atlanta, it's like crazy.
Insane.
Insane. Like that's where I'm from and they have some of the best tree canopy and tree equity, I think.
Atlanta is by far
Yeah.
the best.
It's so-
Atlanta is by
I mean,
far.
they also have a lot.
People do not understand. I was the head of sustainability for the state of Georgia. Atlanta is ridiculous.
It's crazy.
They have more sustainability
But it's
backbone
so
than
expensive.
any place else I've lived.
My parents complain all the time, but they're like, no, it's good. Like they say that. They're like, this is why we have it. Because it's actually, you're incentivized to preserve.
And there's a lot of city codes that are similar to ours, and there's a lot that are just lack of updated and similarity to ours. But there's a lot of similar sizes that are not issues on tree plantings without it being like a breach of, like Atlanta goes into private property. We don't have capacity to be doing that unless it's right of way tree. So we're not proposing that.
Bigger city.
We don't want, yeah, we don't want that. We're not trying to like do infringement for what is already your property. We're just simply trying to target like fresh developments of where can we preserve, like where can we find like fairly easy wins on canopy goals for just helping the existing canopy to flourish. But it can't just be out of good motive. Like, I think we've like been like, yeah, we trust like Littleton is known, like has like a lot of character because of its canopy, and everyone wants this and everyone wants to promote this, and that is sadly naive. I don't think that that is
The
the
case anymore.
universal understanding. That's just like, it needs to be quantifiable.
My neighborhood is high fire risk,
Mm.
so is there also trees that you encourage to minimize fire risk?
What neighborhood are you in, or what?
Trillmark.
Oh, yeah. You are our wooey.
Yeah.
That's been on my list actually, because when I was at the State Forest Service, I was working with like pretty specifically, so without going like super deep into it, but the resin content of trees is what you're looking for, lower resin content. And watered trees, really hard to burn compared to dry trees.
I also will note that I should probably connect you to my contact, if you don't already know, my Arapahoe County open space contact. Like really wants to do outreach with Trailmark HOA. So I could like connect these dots too.
Yeah.
Maybe they already have resources
Yeah.
that we could give.
So are there programs available that the HOA could perhaps cut down the conifers? And
Yeah, like cutting down junipers. Great question. Currently, no, but there's not a reason we couldn't couple that in.
Jefferson County, not Arapahoe.
Jefferson.
Jefferson.
And Jefferson,
Might have a program,
no,
you know?
they have like slash pickup programs for like incentives for that, but unless there's something in an HOA. I didn't live in an HOA in Jefferson, so I guess maybe that could be different. I think that would be helpful, and just in the interim, the state has a list of like low resin or whatever, low flammability trees, plants, vegetation as a whole, that would be really beneficial. I think just like, you don't want to replant something that's like Littleton isn't hyper focused on that. So we offer trees that wouldn't be appropriate for Wooey that are totally okay to be in certain
Other
districts.
places, yeah.
Yeah, I've killed more trees than I planted on my property. And I now want to get rid of a conifer back there because I don't want to buy.
Yeah.
It's junipers are an issue more than anything. Junipers are a huge issue because they are just little, they just pop, and as they pop, those flames go. So the junipers are a big issue. We're having issues with those around our fence, our wooden fences. So we are starting slowly to take out junipers that are in non-desirable places, but
I wanted to put up a tree screen between my house and neighbors, and my arborist and juniper.
It screens.
It grows quick and
Yeah,
it's easy to grow because it's kind of like a weed.
yeah. It would be probably the fastest. They're not wrong in that, but I
the
would
most
not.
fire.
Yeah, that was definitely, there's not any situation that a juniper needs to be retained in the WUI.
Mhm.
So even possibly getting those kind of messages out to arborists.
Yeah. I can promise you that was my primary job at the state. That is an uphill battle, super important battle, but we were just like doing a specific arborist school, to like get folks involved, so.
That could be an interesting outcome from the climate risk and vulnerability assessment. If we go into a resilience and adaptation plan, is like, what is a tangible way we're going to do something like that in terms of education?
Yeah, for fire risk and mitigation, removal of junipers is right up there.
Yeah.
So,
But also like
talking to-
arborists to.
talking to the arborists and
If you
telling them
hire a
not to.
professional and they tell you the wrong thing,
That is a shame.
tough.
I had a few questions.
Yes.
Quick and easy one first. Are the comments for the policy and code changes public yet?
They will be.
They will be, they're not yet. When will they?
They, it's with our consultant now, so I don't know. We were hoping like August-ish. But not yet. And we'll share it intentionally to like board coordinators to share out, and then we'll share it on all of our like public. Make sure to
Yeah, I
share
think
it.
it'd be very relevant to this board to have a session to go into that.
I'll be nagging to get y'all's comments, don't you worry.
A little bit different. I'm curious where the like 50% coverage goal comes from. Does that number change based on like population size, density? The Littleton is by and large various forms of single family residential. If like, does that change for things like around downtown, or you mentioned like Northeast Littleton? Yeah, I'm just curious kind of where that number comes from and yeah, why is it not higher? Why is it not lower?
Yeah, I am pulling up the goals from,
Forestry management,
thank you.
the forestry management plan.
Multifaceted, the goal is overall like what we're trying to reach as like a unit. So it wouldn't be divided in multifamily residential, single family residential, all of that. Or like commercial. What we are proposing in like the current code update change is each one of those increase as an avenue of helping to get to that. The important note, like where it's difficult to kind of get to that, is that that's not enforceable retroactively. So it wouldn't be like, oh, your multifamily residential will now be required a 30% canopy. That's only in the development process. So it will be slower in that front than, of course, I want it to be. Where is this? I'll let you guys, I'll share this just so you can see this map as well, because so it came just from, that's just kind of like an ambitious goal that a lot of municipalities have. So not like really like dense as far as a background in that goes. But the plan was if we went from very little, oh man, I thought I had it on the right. This is the forestry management plan. I know I'm scrolling through it quicker than you guys are seeing it, but you can see like heat map versus that's the same as our canopy map, of course. And that's divided by neighborhood. So go see where yours is at. So we had in dividing, so two parts in the land use. We had the categories on the left, so residential had our highest canopy percentage, and the average of all residential came to 31%, 31.6. So lowest was, I'd have to look back at it, but I want to say it was something in the like low teens, like 13, 14, and the highest was in like the 40 range. Since that takes up, that's the majority of our acres as well, so our percentage of land as a whole, so you can see that. But what was really noteworthy for us in this was parks and recreation areas are usually the highest density just because you have the opportunity of just land to plant as much as you want. And Kettering Park is a really good example of like, that is an awful lot of irrigated turf with very few trees around it. So like, that was one that we kind of targeted as a quintessential example as like, that area could be increased in canopy. I mean, it could be 100% canopy coverage there, you know, so trying to find parks. And then of course, knowing recreational areas are incredibly important and trees and like fields don't really play well together for shade reasons and like dropping material. So knowing that like, we're gonna have a few of those caveats of like potential planting spaces. But in that urban tree canopy assessment, they went through of like potential planting sites. We didn't rely super heavily on that because it doesn't include things like underground infrastructure and irrigation opportunities or like capacity to be hand watering. So it felt like kind of far reaching in that. But the 50% kind of just came from being able to see if we've got residential areas that can do 40 in Littleton successfully and sustainably without like setting that goal and without us investing in it as a city, we can easily go up 10 more percent.
Incredible chart. I hadn't seen that breakdown of the acreage to begin with, so it's crazy. It's wild to me that nearly as much land we have in parks and recreation is dedicated to basically roads. Obviously, those don't really.
Yeah.
12%.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's long-term goals. I gotta go back down to the one where we are putting out. This is the equity map, just so you guys can see it. It's one of those double crossing ones. So you can see, my cursor down here is canopy percent. So low canopy is white, high canopy is orange, and then it's overlaid by our tree equity index, so vulnerable populations. White is low need, blue is high need. So the low canopy high need is dark blue. The high canopy low need is orange. And then the index scores are based on like census blocks there.
What is the green?
The green is high canopy and high need.
Except I know Trailmark, and I think the prairie is okay.
Yeah,
Because we're like South Suburban Parks is all around us,
yeah.
and they're keeping it open, and I would rather have that, in fact, than someone planting trees there.
Right. There, yeah, there's appropriate and inappropriate spots of where we're needing to prioritize. Certainly. Here it is. So 23, we were at 20%, short-term goals for 2030, which we're very approaching, was just to stay the same because this is new. We had discovered EAB as of this day, so we know that we're going to lose potentially, if untreated, 14% of our canopy. So that would put us down to 6, like a crazy number.
Oh, not 14% of 20%.
Yes, 14% of our existing canopy is made up of ash trees.
Oh, okay, so that's 14%
Oh.
of the 20%, not
Yes,
20%
sorry.
down to.
Yes, not bringing it down to 6, yes. But it's 40,000 trees. Sorry.
Don't cry.
Made everyone sweat.
75% of our.
And then switching in a 5% increase over 5% canopy increase every 10 years. And that is what was recommended for a feasible increased growth from the urban tree canopy assessment. So that was where the number came from. They don't recommend where we would cap out, they just are saying like with the current infrastructure, with the current vegetation, with the current open spaces, you would be able to grow 5% each year, 5% every 10 years. And then 50% is where we capped it because it felt like it would be tough for us to get higher than that. So it's not like, to everyone's point of being like, tell us more where that number came from. Like, we kind of just stopped at some point in our 5% each year increase. So I'm definitely aware of like, we need a little bit more backing on that. And our contractor is working on like showing other cities that have those goals or showing other cities that have successfully
Increased significantly.
So-
And really,
Yeah,
one of
if
the
New York
things-
City can reach 50%,
Yeah.
there's not a reason that we should.
Central Park,
they do have Central Park, but then they have everything else.
yeah,
Mhm.
and a lot of parks and cemeteries, so.
Yeah.
and stuff.
And so do we. So that's kind of the hope is like, how can
I
we
mean, it's
better utilize our
doable.
parks and
It is
cemeteries?
definitely doable with the will. That's just it. It's with the will. And you need everybody participating as equal partners. You can't have just residents bearing the burden or South Suburban in the city, and it needs to be everybody equally doing their best. So with developments, with, low-income housing, like to me, I think low-income housing needs trees. They need trees.
You feed into the tree equity problem. You don't.
So, I mean, there's a lot of different things that we're doing around the city that I feel is kind of low-lying fruit, but not everybody feels that same way. And again, because the mindset.
What are those things you're doing that low-lying fruit that you get upset with?
Excuse me?
What are those things that you mentioned, that low-lying fruit?
I'm talking about just, instead of when you're building something new, instead of wiping out all the trees, build around some of them, protect them. When I built my pool, I used to live in Miami. When I built my pool, I had my pool wrap around my mango tree. because I didn't want to lose my mango tree, you know? I mean, you can find a way to build around things, more so than just clear cutting everything and coming back in, because that first 5 years of growth is gonna be brutal on your water, it's gonna be brutal on your carbon. So,
Builders do have the mentality, from my experience, that's easier to
yeah,
clear cut and then.
we need to make it appealing,
Well, and it is, you know, like it's easier to have a completely blank slate,
but
so.
it's easier.
It's
to
the part of
replace.
like educating why trees matter, and if that isn't incentive enough, then having a system in place that.
I guess it also depends on who's footing the like electricity bill, cause if you think about like the shade and the difference in like AC and those benefits, you hear some developers be like, well, I'm building and I'm leaving
Yeah.
versus I'm building, I'm staying, I'm paying the footprint.
Yeah.
Are two different mindsets.
Very much so.
So that's also something I've thought about, think about that too.
So you had mentioned that you have a tree, I forget what you called it, tree policy guidance document or
Like the tree manual.
like the tree manual, something, yeah. So here's where my brain is. I've got 2 chinkapin oaks that I planted that I got from you guys. I have 1 gamble oak that I moved when I moved across the street, because I bought the house across the street and literally moved across my street and I dug up my gamble oak and took it with me. So native to Colorado, gamble oak, native to Colorado, not a tree that most people want in their yard, but I wanted it for the food, for the animals, for the habitat. And it's drought resistant. I've never watered that tree, not once do I worry about watering that tree. The chinkapin oaks, I'm not gonna have to worry about watering them anymore because their roots are so deep. Like, are they thinking about not junipers, drought resistant trees, maybe some natives? I love cottonwoods, but you gotta water the hell out of them. All the time, like even when they're old, you gotta water
That's
them,
what's
they're gonna
happening
die.
on the Highline Canal.
Right.
All those cottonwoods, once Denver water stopped.
The water's gone, the trees are gone.
We're doing a pilot irrigation project up there now to start planting some more and being able to a drip line irrigation, but I mean, those cottonwoods are terrifying.
Cause they're huge and when they fall, they're gonna,
And they,
do something.
they always need water,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. So, I mean, and those were the only trees that were here, right? If they weren't planted by people, those were the only trees that were here and they were all along rivers. So Colorado didn't have trees. So are we thinking, I love trees, you know I love trees, I'm telling my friends to save their trees, I love trees. But we have to think about Colorado, this year has just been brutal for everything. And if we're not thinking about that, like I'm not worried about my trees because I got trees that I knew are gonna make it through that, right? But if we're not thinking that way, planting all these trees, they could all die. And if we have 2 or 3 years like this in a row, all those trees could die.
Right.
So how
So,
much worse is it gonna be without trees?
right, that's what I'm saying. Are we thinking about planting the trees that can make it through?
I mean,
This kind of
we
situation.
think about how bad things are now and how hot everybody is and how crazy it is and how much worse it would be without trees. So, you know, the trees that need water, water them. It's cheaper to water them. Like Mary said, it's cheaper to water those trees and protect them and save them than it is have them die and then have.
Maybe Sharon's saying, maybe we should look at trees that we don't need to
They
water.
don't need as much, I guess is what I'm, are we thinking about that? And they get big and they make a really great shade and they're good habitat and they're food
You're saying for like the
wildlife.
for like new plantings.
Like I thought about multiple things when I picked the trees that I picked, right? And that's because I'm an environmental person, not because like the average Joe got a marketing degree, doesn't know anything about science or trees or birds or habitat, or they're not gonna know what questions to ask. So how do we help with that? I guess is
Could we do a decision tree for planting a tree?
a dichotomous key. That's what we need. We need a dichotomous key. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I will say that for like the tree sale, and it's not a popular opinion, people are bothered with me every year for
I
it.
love that tree sale.
But we buy trees that are zones hotter than ours. So like we're buying, knowing that we're going to be Texas and
That's
Utah.
why I got the chinkapin oaks. That's
Yeah,
why-
so we're buying trees that are within that realm, and people don't really like that because they want a crab apple. Frankly, that's pretty much the only tree that is like one. So it's like we're forcing it in that realm, but it's tough because if you don't care about it, like you're wanting the tree that flowers pink, or you're wanting the tree that has.
They sell red buds with the tree sale.
Yeah, that's true. I know.
They're beautiful trees.
Yeah, they are. They're amazing. I love redbuds. So like, it's like we have, I think that diversity matters one. So what you're describing is amazing. We don't have enough trees that check all of those boxes. So I think it's important that we don't lose sight of the importance of diversity, like over water. So we don't need to be planting willows or cottonwoods in people's front yards. Like, of course, like there are irresponsible water requirement trees, 100%. But I also think that it's important to balance out, like, diversity is going to be more important because, like, if something comes that attacks chinkapin oak and we've been like planted and like, I've been joking.
I'm not
that,
thinking we just need one. It's like,
yeah,
what's the range?
it's just
of
tough
things?
because there's not like that check each one. There's not many that are like, doesn't need much water, but it grows big for shade, and it also provides fall and spring interest, which is
Cause fire.
yes, yeah, and it's like
And
like
you can't have
cantaloupe
all of the same tree.
and like
because-
cantaloupe
Well,
you
no,
can't
that's, I mean.
planting in woolly areas because it retains its leaves in dry months. So the cantaloupe is right up there with
Bad for him,
yeah, like wouldn't recommend it for you, would recommend it for you. So I think, and like we've planted it, the gamble oak is the cyclic fix right now. Like we've planted them in the medians and they shrub up, they like grow like aspens from their roots. And so then they become site questions and stuff. So like there's the right tree in the right place needs to be prioritized, I think, before like a confine of like, here's a one shoe fits all prescription. That being said, I do think maybe like what could be really helpful is saying like, hey, these are really water heavily required trees, or these are really high maintenance trees, or like these trees like grow really well for 10 years and then have just been proven to like need a lot, like hot wings maples. People really love them, but like after, and they grow really fast and really good. And then after they hit like 14-year mark, they just start crumbling. So like you did all of that investment on something that's not gonna have this like long-term return for you, which is discouraging for the person that invested in the tree and tough for us when we're trying to reap those and positive benefits from the canopy. So I think we could do a better job of like maybe having like a forthright list, because like there's a really good list of like front range urban trees to front range urban forestry tree recommendation list. And it's great and it has all of it. Pollinators, water, the whole kit and caboodle. But it's a huge heavy list, and like you said, if you don't really care about it, then it kind of gets harder.
I
So
wonder if it'd be cool, I mean, not to add more to everyone's plate, but like if you could, not you, we could maybe like think about like a map. And like if you live in like this area, we recommend like exploring these options for these reasons. And it's like could sort of be like the idea of like there could be a right tree in a right place, and maybe like it's a suite of options that could work, and then people picking different options is how you get the diversity and get their trees in the right places.
Part of the sapling program, maybe you get the address and you say, here's.
that would work well for you.
Recommend for where you live.
I think that's a great idea.
That could be part of when they order the tree,
Yeah.
you know, as they are ordering, say, you know, which one.
Or yeah, if you plug in your address and go to this map, obviously maybe a wish list item, but be something.
I love it.
In the name of praising you though, I did do the food program in Father House last year, and a couple, and I think the information that's available was really helpful in determining what would work where we are in Littleton. And so it was fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm one of those people that reads everything.
Yes.
There.
I will say, like, yeah, like what you're describing, I'm like, we have it, it's on the website, but it's a matter of,
Digging.
and it's a matter of meeting folks where they're at, like, I don't need to.
Sometimes they don't even know to ask those questions.
It isn't a fair sample.
Yes,
We
yeah.
are self-selected.
Yeah, you guys care a lot, it's really easy to talk trees to you.
We're an easy sell.
Well, and it's also, there are, you know, we do have a list of trees not to plant. you know, so
Yeah.
that's important.
And maybe we
It's
could make
important.
that a little more like, cause like right now, yeah, right now it's kind of like, cause it's invasive, cause it's harmful, cause it's this, and like maybe we could have
Too
like
much water.
an edited cut of being like, don't be a dummy, this is a bad tree to plant.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
this would be a dumb species
Yeah.
in our climate.
Yeah.
Like, maybe we need a little bit more of that.
And then when it goes to like institutional type, like the shift from educational to institutional, like it is the city I previously worked at. It was in Kansas, we had the bad ash problem, like. They just took it out. They put into city code that you just can't plant them, and that targets developers. And so I'm assuming or requesting either that those types of things are worked into like the institutional.
Yes.
Making.
And we do have it right now, but it is, the way it has to be updated for something like that, which is why we're hoping to get this like third-party policy document, so it's all in one place. First off, because it's differing currently, like from Let's Deal, you see. But like for an example, it still has ash trees on it, which we would not approve ash being, like we have, there is a clause that like there's authority for the like city forester or public works director to they didn't have a city forester as public works director to override that. So like we do that, and like honey locusts, like we are really picky on like, okay, you can plant a few, but people will plant 50 sunburst honey locusts for a new development. So saying like, hey, we're requiring you to meet our diversity standard. So we do currently have that. It's not as tidy as I want it to be, and that'll be part of this update of, we don't really need like, we don't need a species recommendation in our code other than certain ones that are like deeply
Nuisance.
prohibited, like a nuisance tree. But we would like to be able to direct people to something else that's like, here's where you can pull from, like, and our code is referenced so that there's authority associated with it.
And one thing that has changed that's really good is that when new developments come in now, ComDev does send the plans over to us. So Mary looks for the trees, we look at the irrigation, we look at all of that stuff and see what kind of concerns we would have and how we would do things. So that didn't used to happen, and that is now happening. But now we're 90% built out.
Is there anything in those, that design, the zoning, that if they remove so many trees, that they have to plant so many trees and?
As it currently stands, it is a 1 to 2 replacement regardless of the tree's size. If you're in the ULUC, there's another section of it that is, so 1 to 2 caliber, so
Okay.
not enough, yeah. And then there's another, if you're not able to replant that amount of caliper, then you pay the in lieu fee, which no matter the size of the tree is $500 penalty. So it leads to the incentivization of cutting down the tree because you pay $500 and then you can do whatever you want. So that is, we're shifting that, we're shifting that for it to be on a scale.
Yeah.
So the smaller the tree, the less you would pay if you can't preserve it. And the bigger the tree, then you have to pay a lot. And if you can't go around it and you're willing to pay a lot of money, then all of those development fees go into our tree subsidy program. That is our only way that we can really put money on private property. So, it's the silver lining I do so I don't get sad. But it still matters more to preserve trees. But at least like that funds an important program.
Incentives to preserve it, yeah.
We just we needed a place to change this because we kind of needed a place to have a little bit of teeth. Just so you could say, we're not here to disincentivize you. We are here to incentivize you to protect the trees. We are not trying to penalize you for taking them down, but we want you, we're incentivizing you.
The resistance is we don't want a penalty system for our developers. And my answer as a tree person is that I also don't want a penalty system for our developers.
We want to incentivize them.
We just want to find the way that we can encourage them to retain our current canopy. And there's a ton of different options for that. So, we're not trying to, I don't have any code enforcement ability. I don't have any code enforcement, just trying to get some trees retained. Anything else?
This was so good. Thanks for
Yeah,
coming
this
in.
is wonderful.
Yeah, happy
Thank you so much for
You
coming.
guys are really friendly.
You guys were so easy and gentle on us. It was awesome. Thank you.
And I will share out the like water article and anything else, but as you guys think of stuff, like it really is, it's in like our communal best interest for us to be able to hear what you're thinking and have questions on and concerns with and us be able to respond. So don't hesitate to reach out or ask. Happy to talk trees as put on display at any point in time.
Thank you both for coming. Really appreciate it.
Of course.
Alright. So the next item on our.
Guys are still here, huh?
How long are you guys?
We have 25 more minutes.
Yeah, we ran a little long. I think.
I think it was important. And it relates directly to our next item, because there's a huge portion of, because we're looking at updating the action plan, and there's a huge portion that relates to the environment.
Happy to help on that when it comes to, or whatever, happy to put in.
Yeah. Great, so I wanna pull up. Where, yeah, I sent out the updates, and I don't know if we wanna start, if y'all have questions. Or how we wanna, yeah, the best way to approach it, but I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen.
Everyone.
Thank you, stay home safe. So. Okay. Let me reshare. Okay. Of course, it's not responding right now. Why would it?
Just use your words.
Yeah, for, the short, it actually wasn't too long. I tried to keep it pretty concise with the accomplishments and progress and then what is left. So I sort of divided it as like because there was a list that was pulled at the beginning that's like highest priority. And again, I recognize that like I was not there when this happened and none of you were there. So I think we're just at a point where we can sort of take some ownership over how we want this to look. And so it could be that some of the things are broken out more because some of the other things are coming off of it. And so I did get an email from Tom about, and I think hopefully most of your questions were answered. I sent them all to Mary and Diana, and they were all related, I think, to natural environment, unless I was missing something.
I don't think so. I can't remember exactly.
That's fair.
But
Um,
most of it was natural.
Yeah, okay, great. So. Zoom is not responding.
Except, with rewilding, it seemed like it's an accomplishment, and they've said they couldn't. It wasn't clear enough to call.
Yeah, so I put it as an accomplishment because I know that the city does it, and that's sort of what they were saying too. But I guess their point was we could call it out differently. And so I wrote down sort of all of the recommendations about like keeping a certain percentage unmanaged. So I feel like we could have something like that and make it a little more tangible. Because it sounds like maybe it was a bit of a catch-all term at the time or a trendy term. I don't really know. I guess none of us were in the room when this happened, so we're gonna just do our best.
Riddle's not here today.
Yeah, she's not here today, so we'll just do our best to interpret, and we can always sort of start and then have her chime in too, but I think, part of having fresh people is having a new perspective, so it's something that y'all can decide what you wanna give and take from it. It's just gonna work now. All right,
What a list of accomplishments. Though. I feel like it's really good job, you guys.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's been definitely chipping away. I think there's definitely still ones, you know, the in progress. And I can go over any of those or any questions y'all had. Or if we want to like start with the like what is left and should be discussed. And oh hey, there we go. Hide controls. It'll go away. That box. So I don't know if like you'll like the format of the highest priority actions, but we might want to like change what those are, and we want to like start there today and then just continue this conversation so that we can do updates.
Yeah, we don't have very much time, so maybe just kind of the highest priority items makes sense to me.
Yeah. And we can,
We'll have a little bit of time for any comments and reports from folks.
yeah, so we can do this for like, you know, just 10 minutes, and even if we talk about the what is left / should be discussed under these three, I feel like that's a good place to start.
I agree. And I think the first one is also a good place to start, because in reference to like what they were saying, I think that one is,
This one.
it's a goal that makes sense, but it's vague in like executing it, you know? And so like,
When are you finished? There's no goal. Really.
right, exactly, yeah, it's,
Specificity is missing.
yeah, so like, I think it can be parsed out in like, right? You know, and I'm with you as well, like, it's not necessarily our place, because we're not the transportation board, but we have a place in like providing advisement to transfer, you know, like comment to transportation plans and being involved in like blueprint and all those things that are happening. And incentivizing, sorry, no, I was kind of gonna go rambling, but like, just,
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say that like neither us nor the transportation board actually has any quasi-judicial authority.
right,
So we are just advisors on policy, and
so we
I,
can advise, yeah,
yeah, and you know, I think.
Building car culture is a tough goal to have.
it's huge, yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
it's
I
not
think
like climate
make it more
change is
tangible.
easier.
What?
It's not like climate change, like, it's not like solving
Right, but it's-
mitigating climate change for the city is necessarily easier.
But it's like,
People being EVs.
And we're talking about as well, like, we've been talking about, you know, adjustments to the land use code. Which there is a planning commission, which does have quasi judicial
Right.
authority. And, you know, I think there's lots of boards that cross cut the various things, and I think part of that cross cutting and cross pollination is kind of important, you know, there's not necessarily anybody on TMB that, you know, I'm sure there's many environmentalists on the board,
Yeah.
but like.
I am not saying like
Yeah.
pull ourselves out of it, I'm just saying like that is so vague that I think like
Yes.
as like a government, like I work in government now, so like my brain is going to like guidance document, you know, like
Yes. No,
we
I-
prepare a guidance document for preparation of like transportation developments that like we can present to council and TMB and those that have the abilities to make the decisions and like provide input. And like, that's more of a goal to me, of like prep our recommended standards and, or some, you know, something like that, than like cause that to me, I read that and I'm like, I should go to Littleton Boulevard and start pulling people out of the driver's seat of their cars, and that doesn't seem like a great idea. So
I agree on getting more specific.
Yeah.
Yes.
In education, we talk about SMART goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and
I'm done.
timely. Yeah. That they have a, you know, a time block. So writing them in a way that makes them measurable and specific and attainable is, I think that's a great goal for us to, like, getting people out of cars is a lofty, unmeasurable, kind of ambiguous thing, right? What do we really want them to do? We want them to have more opportunity to get out of their cars. We want to increase the, you know, walkable area in downtown by some percentage, or I don't know, I'm just making stuff up. But making it where it's something that's a target that people can say, oh, I understand there's steps that can get us there versus get out of cars.
I will push back just a little bit, because I do think, get people out of cars is very pithy, but I think it does translate to part of a SMART goal very easily, which is reducing vehicle miles traveled.
Absolutely.
I'm not.
So you
sure
run it
why
like
we
that.
want to do that. Only why we want to do that.
I mean, it is something, I think it's something that we care about. Personal vehicles are a big source of greenhouse gases.
But what happens if they're EV?
What's that?
What happens if they're EVs?
I mean, there's still a lot of environmental impacts related to tire wear. In order to support individual vehicles, you have to have all of that transportation infrastructure. Having enough places for people to park is more impervious space. It's more impervious ground. Everyone needs somewhere to park. Your tires and brakes and stuff are, there's a big equity component. Cars are very expensive. They're generally inefficient. So even if they are EV and self-driving and stuff, buses, trains, walking and bikes are still better environment.
Yeah, I think it's.
Right,
good.
I mean, that's, we are getting maybe more into TMB area now, but I care deeply about transportation as well, particularly from an environmental standpoint. And that's, like bikes, trains and buses are always gonna be more efficient and better for the environment.
My idea is that
Cars
you
are.
get people out of cars. I would like to have a better mix of transportation. Because you're knocking on.
People are still going to need cars, but providing more of those options is what allows people.
I just don't like that title.
I agree.
And I think specificity in that, and in all facets, including what's reasonable where we are, like if we can target.
This was a hard one to start with too.
Yeah, right.
As always,
intimidating.
Yeah,
A little
but
bit.
like,
I think we do have we're getting short on time, so I think we do have some ideas on how to maybe digest this one a little bit more. And do we want to move on to the other?
It's a tough one.
Yeah, it's hard, yeah. How about the next one?
Incentivize water conservation, the next easy one.
in comments.
I mean, a lot of this comes to education. And I tried to emphasize this to the people that wrote it when I first started. And there are things the city can do. We sold all of our water rights to Denver Water in the 70s. So we follow all of Denver Water's restrictions when it comes to drought, when it comes to water. We can do things like, like the low shower pressure shower heads. We have like the splash rain barrel gardens. We could think about like demonstrations for those. Then we have like moving towards xeriscaping, drought resistant plants, talking about flushing toilets. Like there's all these different things. I think this one I see as education, but I'd be curious to hear if there's something I might be missing on the water side.
The incentivize word throws me off a little bit. Like, we can't incentivize anybody. We don't have any power to do that. Like, what do we mean by that?
I don't have any money to do that.
Yeah, like, how are we
Yeah.
incentivizing anyone?
Except if you can pay me to Zurich my lawn, I'm all for it.
Well, I think that's where it comes in, where like the question, and that's what, it comes up a lot for me when I'm reading the action plan, is like the direction that the board is going, which is like, it's supposed to, or how we want it to go, because I feel like a lot of the efforts are like education centric, and we can do that and we can think of ideas, but I also think we have the capacity, ability to like advise council. So like, is it within our realm to like advise something that they can authorize for an incentivization program or something like that? And so that's, I think, where we split it into two. We write something to council that says, we propose that you start working on some sort of program to incentivize water conservation outside of what already exists. I know that we have different, but like if there was a way, I know all of these things cost money, that's how it all is, but like the forestry program has subsidies. If there's subsidies for xeriscape or something like that, that we can ask council to start working on, and then split the other one into continue education efforts and things like that, and just like be more, again, specific in what these are saying.
I'm sort of trying to capture people's comments, so if these aren't what it sounds like you're saying, then let me know.
Yeah, I think in general, I agree that incentivize is a weird word here because we have so little, the city in general has so little control over this. Obviously, you know, we're doing our best with the public spaces that we have already, and so I feel like there's probably not very many gains to be had there. I'm not an expert on it, but I cannot imagine that there's a bunch of water hiding in between the couch cushions for the public use.
No,
So I'm
It's not.
yeah, like this one feels big, but again, I don't know if we have that much like control, and there's already a lot of things happening at the state level about like, you know, HOAs cannot require you to like have lawns or water your lawn when there's like drought stages in effect or whatever. And so I don't know personally from like an action plan perspective, what is the action that we plan to take related to this? It could be continuing education. I find that generally to be surprisingly high effort and also surprisingly like low impact. Like I learned about the tree subsidy program today. And so like education is important, but it's only gonna reach so far and I think have so much impact, and it costs money and it costs a lot of time from city staff. And
The
so
report
I'm-
just popped into my head. Could we do something in the Littleton report? Like,
I mean, there's
I
so
read
many
every
places-
single word in that thing.
Yeah.
There's so many places for comms.
They actually did an entire like water short video about like what we're doing. You probably saw Diana in that if you saw the video. And I think there's also like Resource Central does those lawn. We do that. The problem is like, it's really expensive to replace your lawn and do that it's a drop in the bucket to get that subsidy. So like,
So expensive.
if and then you come back into the issues of like some of it's the taxation issues, some of it is just like resources. Like, so we apply for this grant usually and we have it and we can distribute it to residents, but then the money runs out and. Right. Yeah, so it's tough.
This one to me feels like it could be big, but we just don't have a lot of authority or leeway here, and so I don't wanna say in favor of deprioritizing it to some degree, but like, I just don't know, it's very unclear to me what actions we take and whether the impact of those is really worthwhile.
Like our goal is what? Our goal is to change people's behavior in how they use their water, right? With thinking that incentivizing would help with the behavior change, right?
Right.
But I just don't see where the city of Littleton has any authority to incentivize.
Right.
Except outwater, it's all about outdoor water use. So the city could possibly come up with solutions to decrease outdoor water use.
But on private property, it's.
Yeah, we
up
have
to-
limited
it's up to
jurisdiction.
the person that owns the property.
You can't limit, let's say turf grass, that's not within the.
I don't think we really,
I
I mean, the city of
some
Littleton can
cities
say
have
you're not allowed to
done
plant certain types of grass, I suppose, but
Yeah.
I can't imagine that doesn't immediately blow up politically.
Well, and how are they gonna enforce it? I mean,
They might have something actually now that's around like planting in new, but it's really hard to go back and make people change what they have.
Didn't we see a presentation, maybe it was somewhere else, about converting turf to native plants? It's like garden
garden in a box.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have that program. It's just the same, it's just only so much of that resource to go around.
Just the way they did in Tucson, because Tucson, they don't have a lot of lawns, but maybe they just jacked up the price of water so high that.
I think they might have, and that would be like the water company. So, I mean, I'm not discouraging this because it's super
I don't think you
important
could
to learn
zone it.
about, but
You may be able to zone it. but-
I think Tucson actually, they wrote it into the code that people were not allowed to have lawns. They had those shared spaces where there was a little bit, so they'd have like a soccer field or something, you know, green area in a neighborhood shared area, but people, I
mean,
think
I
they
don't-
actually.
Roads don't have lawns either.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very curious if there is a way to do that, great. I just don't.
My back two neighbors water their lawns in their backyards every single day.
We can report them, you can report them and they'll get fined.
I wanna lose my mind.
You can report them. Like anonymously, they won't have to know it's you, but you can report them to like the water police.
Every single day.
And they can get fined a lot for doing that, cause at least right now, they're supposed to be letting their grass die.
So we're stage 2 now. I thought there was like specific days you could water.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah,
I think it's 2 days a
on
week.
Wednesday and
I
Friday.
guess I was talking to someone in Leadville and
It
there's.
depends on your house.
I know my days, I'm Wednesday and Saturday.
Wait,
But I'm barely giving the grass any.
Yeah, again, like that's all through
Just
the
wondering-
water.
Yeah.
And so it's,
What the
maybe
plan-
this is an exploration opportunity. I just don't know what.
I don't know.
I think.
I feel like you'll need to tell me.
I think maybe it's high enough priority, but somehow explore it. Make sure we.
I'd like to raise a question, not to interrupt you, Tom, but can we make a plan for what we're gonna do with this so that if they could devolve into discussion for hours and hours, but I think it'd be nice if there was some outcome here, not today, but you know, that we set a timeline and tangible goals for us. I do like the idea of revisiting each one of these and deciding, should this stay, should it go, what's missing, and how can we make it more like feasible with like percentages or actual numbers or whatever it is, depending on the goal. I don't know if that means we should break it up or if we should just spend the next few meetings rolling through each of these. So what do you guys think?
Or if y'all wanna, like during meetings, if you wanna break out into whole groups.
You do that.
If you wanna do that and y'all can then share out what you discussed, if.
And you did do a lot of work for us, like we did ask you to do this and you did what we asked you to do. Like, thank you for that, I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Which is the goal of however we go about this exercise over the next few meetings is to have a new artifact.
Yeah.
A new
I love that.
action plan.
Improved.
That's updated, is revised, has, and then potentially also some external
I
community.
think this might take us a little longer than. Honestly, the study sessions are getting really booked up anyhow, and so I'm pushing for October. But part of me is like, should I be pushing for October just after even the past 15 minutes?
I think that's the question because we talked about.
We could push for January, right? And I wouldn't even have to push for January. I could easily get that.
Right.
Or
And even
February.
for you to know, we talked about like bringing the new revised version to council during the study session that we have with them. And I'm sharing that concern, especially with the August meeting getting canceled, that like, if we push for October, that's September and that's it.
We're not gonna be ready in October.
Right, so that's,
No, and honestly, that's a relief because right now there's so many items, right?
so if that's the goal, but I was also thinking too that like, yeah, if that's the goal, then I think we should push to January.
January's good.
And even if we.
January or February.
February.
Even, or
Sounds good.
continue to work on this and bring in the red lines that we have and say that we're working on it and talk to them about.
It's a stretch to get October right now anyhow, so like it would be a relief for
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
the schedules for us to push it. And if y'all want, I can see if we could do 2 study sessions next year and I'll just go ahead and book one for the fall since we won't be doing one this year because I don't wanna opt us out. But I kind of do think just based on even just the past 10 minutes, yeah, we might need a little more time.
Yeah, I think we're gonna need some more time.
The other thing, we only have 2 minutes left, so I'm gonna put it on the agenda as a main item for September. We talked about community development coming to discuss the process for how developments get approved. Is that still?
This is my like little bee in my bonnet thing. I would like to like dedicate time to
Let's
this,
do it.
you know,
Yeah,
and so.
I think it's important.
Yeah, so that's super interesting.
It'll
So I hate to like
lead
make
to the next, you know.
The process will largely remain the same for many months until and get things changed, and it takes a while to go through the code updates, as you heard from grounds and forestry. So it's up to y'all, and you could also email me and tell me, hey, I do want them to come. I have reached out. So it's an option.
I'm comfortable with them coming. I also want to prioritize it. So I hate to nix it, but I
push
also, yeah, if we pushed it one
I'm
or,
fine with that.
Maybe- Okay with it.
yeah.
Maybe next
Yeah,
time
I think we can push, but I think that's fine. The
Like
process.
focus, like all of September
The
one, on, like,
breakout sessions idea, that
yeah.
sounds.
If y'all could pick the topics you care about.
Yeah.
And you could say, how can we deep dive into the sections of the action plan, like, I know Gretel cares about waste, I know some people care about water, transportation, like that's.
I think we can, and maybe the initial portion of the meeting next time is to strategize how we want to go about it. The existing action plan is obviously a great artifact, but we do have a lot of new blood and things that may not be on that action plan that we care about or have a particular approach. And so I think maybe spend a little bit of time next time doing some of that game planning and then going through some of the edits, accomplishments, updates and stuff. Cause I think the accomplishments could be a great artifact for publicity. And communicate and public outreach to show, like, here are the things that we're doing. It's very hard for people to notice the small changes over time. Unless it's,
This document's important not only for my work, but you heard Grounds and Forestry, like other departments reference it when they go to council. And so if there are questions we have for other staff and like our water resources manager, we've got grounds, we have facilities. So if there are questions you have as you read through, email me and I'll like see if I can get the answers and find the people that know the answers. Cause it's not always gonna be me, which is a good thing, but spreading that out.
We're smarter together.
Exactly.
and I do agree. I think this is really important. This artifact informs staff, it informs city council, it informs the policy of the city, which I think is kind of the main thing we're trying to do here. Inform the policy and the goals of the city of Littleton through this environmental.
Cool. So before we adjourn, reminder, we are doing our tour of the wastewater treatment plant the day before our normal meeting. So I'm working to get the website updated and all of the details. And I will send those all out in an email. I'm sure you don't all want me to tell you verbally that you I can give you the reminders. It's like you have to wear closed-toed shoes. We're gonna meet there. So I'll send out all of that. I'll get it on the website too. But we're gonna meet at tour for South Platte Renew. And then just a reminder for the July and August meetings, since we will not meet, the volunteers I have for the meet greet meets on July 15th are Sarah, Gretel, and Alex. And then on August 19th, I have Gretel and Tom. So let me know if something's changed. Yeah, do it.
I cannot.
Great. Glad I asked. What?
On the 15th, you cannot.
I cannot on the 15th.
Is that a Stern Park?
Mhm.
I was planning to be there anyway. Yeah.
Great.
I'll be in Grand Junction at the Colorado Safety Summit.
Right. I'll also send reminders to people about it. So I'll change that out too. And then if you want to jump in, let me know. And if you can no longer do it, just email me and I'll send out all the reminders, as well as we've got the recycling tour in September, but we're still meeting in September.
And I can't come to the August meeting. I'm at the conference. Or national conference.
Yeah.
At the tour, I
Yeah,
can't do.
I won't be like taking, because the regular meeting is canceled, this is just, if you can come, great,
I wish I could, but.
yeah. They do tours all the time too.
I will
so
be
I can
hitting up
help
the
you.
education programming and
Are there any other things on your end with?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Yeah, I think so.